What's up, y'all? Welcome to the channel. This is your boy Amit, and today we are looking at paperclip.ing, paper clipping, and this is a AI tool that orchestrates all your AI agents. So let's get started. All right, so paperclip, and I'll drop all the links in the description. Go click them. They have a GitHub page. This is their website, paperclip.ing. Paperclip is an open source orchestration for zero human companies. Just to do this one click install. With that one click install, you get a locally hosted dashboard and you can connect with your Claudes and Codexes of the world or your OpenClaw. So that's pretty cool. And how this works is you basically define the business goal and then hire the AI team to work towards that goal. And you become the board of directors. So you're the one who approves every single hire. And it boasts that it has everything that you need to run an autonomous company. It has regular heartbeats. You can create multiple companies. Each company can have its own goal assignment that goes through a Kanban board, which you can set those goals, and then you can assign the agents that will achieve those goals. And we're going to see all of that in a few minutes. But first, I just want to walk you through what this is. So again, you can build your own bot. You can have Cursor, Codex, Claudebot, OpenClaw. They should update that to OpenClaw now. Or anything that has a heartbeat, you can do that. You can even connect with the HTTP or a bash command if you wanted to. And then here's an example of what a goal would look like. So for example, your mission is to make 2 million ARR with the number one note taking app. And then that's the company mission. Then below that comes the project goals. Then the agent gets its own goals. And then within those goals, agents get tasks. Now, this is pretty cool. Agents can wake up on their own schedule for their regularly scheduled programming. So, for example, your content writer needs to write the newsletter every 8 hours. SEO analyst needs to do keyword research. Then your content writer needs to do social posts, review drafts, what have you. All of that can be scheduled for your different agents. There's also cost tracking, so you can see how much money are you burning per agent in this interactive dashboard. Now, what's cool is it also supports multiple companies in a single deployment. So in my single deployment, I can have a mobile marketing company or a TikTok factory or a hyperliquid fund. So you can just add your company, add the roles, and based on those goals of your company, you can keep adding the roles. What's cool is this is a task based dashboard, so everything is tracked, you have full traceability. And I do like that because when you start creating all these tasks, you might want to go back and see what exactly you did over that period of time. And then soon they're launching this download a business, kind of like a marketplace where you can download pre-built businesses, which are pre-built agents that'll just do the work for you. And then eventually, as I mentioned earlier, you're the board. You decide who gets hired and who doesn't get hired. That's also pretty cool. And then there's a little bit of a blurb about what paperclip is and how to use paperclips, and then what paperclip is not. So check out their website. Now with that, what we're going to do is we'll create a net new project in my paperclip. I've already installed this, so you just have to run this in your terminal, and that will install paperclip. We're going to go through this onboarding in a second. So you can see here I have two different paperclips installed. Once you install the paperclip, what you want to do is you want to follow the directions that are on their GitHub page. So this gets downloaded into a folder, and then from here you want to download the, and then once you install this on your machine, you will go through the agents.md file. So let me open that for you. And then in this agents.md file, there will be directions on how to download your heartbeat, your soul, and your tools.md file. So you'll download all of those in that same folder where your project is. So what we're going to do is let's go ahead and create a net new project, and we will give this a name. And then once you have that folder created, you can open that in terminal in your Mac. Let's now install this Paperclip in that folder. So once you do that, it opens the Paperclip dashboard. And since I've already gone through that onboarding, I'm brought straight to my dashboard. Now, what I can do is in this dashboard, we can go and create a new company. And then let's give our company a goal. I have defined my goal that I want the goal for this company to reach 10,000 TikTok followers by using the CEO hook by the end of March 2026. And then I have defined what the CEO hook channel is going to be about, the TikTok channel. Then on the next step, you're going to choose one of these adapters. So let's just go with Codex. You're going to give your directory path here. So we're going to go back to our Finder, right click and copy path name. So let's copy and paste that. And then I'm going to leave it at the default model. Now you can also run this test to make sure that Codex is installed in that environment. Most likely I'm going to get an error that Codex is not installed in that environment. So then what I want to do is I want to hit next for now. Now this heartbeat.md is already going to be downloaded, and then it's telling you how to download the other personas. So let's go open that link. And then here we have the agents, heartbeats, and tools.md files. So let's go ahead and download this into that new folder that we created. Again, I'm going to download all 4 files there. And of course, you can go and change the content of these files. These are all markdown files, so you can open them in your text editor and change all of the content of that file. Now that we have that, what I'm going to do is go back to the main folder. I'm going to open this agents.md in a text file. But before I do, I want to copy the path again. And I'm going to show you that in a second why I'm doing that. So let's open this with text editor. I did that because this is where I want to paste that path. And then for the others, which is the heartbeat, let's get that. We'll paste that here. Same thing for the other two. And then once you've made your changes, just X out and hit save for your changes. But we've done this part. Now we need to install Codex in this folder. So what we just did is we went through these instructions here. Let's go next and let's go open the issue. So now what happens is Paperclip automatically creates the first issue under the issues tab. And if we go to table view, you can see this is the to do, which is to create the CEO's heartbeat. And now it's just running and doing that. Given that I have all those files in that folder and I have Codex installed, this should work. So now it's going through this first task to show you what it's doing. And then while it's doing that, what you can do is you can go to the cost tab and see what the current cost is for this project. You can also go to the activity tab and see all the activities. And then in settings, you can go and change some of those settings. The most important one here is hiring, which is to require board approval for new hires, which is essentially you. You're the board and you have to approve any new agent hire to this company. I can see my inbox just lit up. I have one message in my inbox, which is my hire request for a founding engineer. So let's go ahead and approve this request. Now this is linked to my Codex account, which means this will be taking my OpenAI API credits. We can go to my OpenAI account and look at what the spend is for this session. So I'm going to refresh my dashboard and see if that spend has increased. We were at $7.05. So right now we are still at 7.05. Now what we can do is we can go to the dashboard and look at what the current spend is. So for this specific company, I have 0 spend. But if I go to this one here, I spent $5.14. And this was actually using Claude for that $5.14 spend. And as soon as I came here, looks like I have pumped the heartbeat into our founding engineer and he is off to doing something. So then I can go in here and see what he is trying to do. I can also go to my issues and see if there's an issue that my engineer is trying to work on. Right now, everything is done. So I'm curious what that engineer is doing. Maybe it's just a heartbeat check to make sure that, hey, I'm still alive. I can go back, look at the run, look at the cost, over 1 million cached tokens. So I'm not really sure what this task was, but this was just to show you how you can look at your cost. So let's go back to our newly formed company. And now if I look at my org, I have a CEO and I have a founding engineer, and it looks like they're both using Codex. So let's go and change that. So what I can do is I can click on the founding engineer. I can go right here and configure that agent. And then from here, I can choose whether I want this founding engineer to have a different coding model for my current project, which is running on Codex. I can also add API keys in here. And then I can also choose the heartbeat interval for this agent. So what I can do, if I go back here to my Codex agent, I noticed that the founding engineer was doing something. I can simply pause it. So I don't burn any of my Claude tokens because this one was using Claude. Same thing with my CEO. I can go to my CEO and pause that CEO for those exact same reasons that I don't even want a heartbeat to trigger my API token consumption, because you can see this CEO has used $4.44 and he has done no work at all. All right. So now both of our agents are paused for my coding bootcamp. Let's head back over to my media company. And now that we have our two hires, what I can do is I can create issues. So to create an issue, you can go and click on new issue. Now, since I want to grow my TikTok following, I want someone to do research on these top companies whose CEOs are famous, and we can create a slideshow talking about fun facts about those CEOs. And that's something AI should be able to handle. But first, we need to do the research. Make a list of the top 100 most loved CEOs of the world, and then arrange that in chronological order so that we can move on to the next step. As I've said, make a list of the top 100 most loved CEOs of the world. Now, this is in the to do section of our status, and I'm going to leave the priority as whatever it is currently. I'm not going to apply any label. I don't need to attach an image to this, so no need for that. And then here, I don't need to give it a start and due date. I'm just going to say create issue. Once you create an issue inside of your Paperclip dashboard, this is going to jump into your Codex and it's going to start doing the actual work. So all you're doing is creating these tasks, and it's up to these agents to now figure out what your task is and then act on that task. So right now our to-do task is still sitting in to-do. What I can do is I can assign this to the CEO, and now the CEO needs to go start working on it. And you can see as soon as I assign it to the CEO, this has just kicked off, and now this task is being handed to the CEO who will now take it from there. So while that CEO is running that task, we can go and create more issues. So the next issue I want to create is I want to have a copywriter who will do all the copywriting for the TikTok. So now we need to create a copywriting agent. And for this one, I'm going to choose again the CEO as the assignee. Now, what you can do is you can choose which model to use in your tasks. So maybe for this task, I want to use a low thinking effort model, so I don't use too much of my credits. Or if you're on a credit based plan, or maybe you're using the API key, maybe you don't want to burn too many tokens, so you can choose a different model. Maybe instead of the default model, I can choose the GPT-5 model. So that's also an option. I'm going to leave it at default for now and just change the thinking effort to low. And then I can add a description here. Let's get a copywriter who will help with the TikTok scripts so we can use them when creating our TikTok slides for the CEO. I've given it a title, a description. I've assigned it to the CEO, and then I can go and create the issue. Right now, you can see one of them is already in progress, which is researching the top CEOs for our TikTok channel. So it is going and doing all these web searches. And you can see it says item completed, item completed. I can go deeper into this and see what are those items that it is completing. So right now, this is the one that's running because you can see this little icon. And then the next one that's queued is to hire a copywriting agent. So again, we can go back to our dashboard and in real time see how many tasks we have open, how many are currently running, and then what's our cost for those tasks. Then you can also go to your issues and look at all your tasks there. And then you can see which ones were completed. So the research top CEO just got completed, which means I should have received an inbox. So it's right here in my inbox. Research top CEO is completed. So now what it's saying is, here's the update. I completed the research and it is all arranged in chronologically by rank number 1 through 100. And then it is delivered in this file. So let's go and see if that actually happened. I'm going to go back to my folder and it was the media company. And then here's the reports folder. And here is the exact file name that's mentioned here, the two top 100. All right, let's open that with text. And looks like we have our top 100 companies in the world according to this. And while I was viewing this, I noticed that another task might have just finished. Okay, so we have an inbox message. Oh, look at, we now have a new person on our org chart, which is the copywriter, but the copywriter has not been approved yet. So it's waiting in my inbox for approval. This is wild. All right, let's go ahead and approve this copywriter. And now if we go to our issues, hiring a copywriting agent and researching this is done. So that means we need to create a new task, which is asking the CEO what should be the next task to get this TikTok channel up and running and get to that 1,000 followers by the end of March. So I'm going to assign this to the CEO. I think we have a killer team. What is our next plan of action to get to 10,000 followers by end of March for this TikTok channel? All right, so I have created the issue. And now what I want to see is, can the CEO of the company figure this out? Or do I need to figure it out? Because I think the next step is for our founding engineer to create some magic where scripts need to be created and those scripts need to go to through TikTok's API and then create these slideshows for these 100 CEOs showcasing fun facts about them and see if we can grow the channel using that CEO hook. All right, looks like this task just moved to progress. Okay, looks like a bunch of planning is currently happening. So it's executing the CEO heartbeat. It's reviewing the item next on list, which is number 3. Okay, that one's done. All right, so it's going through a bunch of things. Let's go back to our dashboard so we can see one task in progress. Still no money burned. And that is great because I am using my Codex through my ChatGPT subscription. All right, look like the plan was delivered. So let's go and check it out. I'm going to go to my inbox. It says right here, what's the next step was my recent issues. So let's go to issues. That one's done. And let's see what the plan is. The plan is build a March 2026 execution plan. Shared the plan here, includes required follower run rate formula based on the current followers, which is 0, I guess. Defines daily posting cadence, weekly KPIs, decision rules, and 72-hour sprint actions. This is amazing. Now let's see if what actually is in there. Let's go to our plans folder, and here's our 10,000 followers plan. All right, goal is to reach 10,000 followers by the end of March. Perfect. Current follower count is 0. Gap closed 10,000. Days remaining 21. Execution, post 3 short videos a day. 1 trend led hook. 1 authority, 1 short personality. Publish in fixed windows. Reply to comments in the first 60 minutes. Go live. All right, then it has a bunch of decision rules. Bunch of operating cadences on when the team should meet. and then the next immediate 72 hours. So what we can do now is, okay, it's created a plan for us, but it didn't really take the initiative that a CEO should have and assign that plan. So let's go ahead and do that. I am going to copy this and maybe I can just add a sub issue. Okay, I don't know how to add a sub issue. All right, I will just copy this. So there is a copy button. And let's go and create a net new issue. This one I'm going to assign to our copywriter. Actually, let's assign it to our founding engineer. Okay, I don't know if this is going to work, but what I'm saying is execute the CEO's plan to the founding engineer. And I'm saying reference and execute the CEO's plan laid out in THE-4, which I can see right here, and take assistance from the CEO and the copywriter if needed. Let's see what happens. This is just fun to play with. And this is a great UI that the Paperclip thing has given us out of the box. It's not as dull as OpenCross TUI, which again I know it's powerful, but I have to give props to what they've done with the UI as well. All right, so now our founding engineer is off to the races. And I can go track it again in inbox. I can go to the dashboard. I can check my spend. And that essentially is how Paperclip works. And there you have it, folks. That is paperclip.ing. That's agent orchestration flow right there in the flesh. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. And don't forget to smash that subscribe button so you get notified next time I release a video. And until next time, keep prompting.